Welcome to a deep dive into 99 SpeedMart's performance recently. We're going to be going beyond just the headlines of their reports from Q2 and Q3 of 2024 to get a better sense of how they're doing.
Yeah, it's a really interesting case study, I think, especially in today's kind of economic climate. We're going to be focusing on their revenue and their growth trends,
Right.
their strategies for managing costs and their profit margins, and then also what their own statements tell us about their plans for the future and some of the challenges they might face.
Okay, sounds good. So I guess everyone wants to know, how's 99 SpeedMart doing? Their revenue growth has been pretty impressive.
It has, yeah. We've seen an 8.2% jump year over year in Q2.
Wow.
And an even stronger 8.8% in Q3.
Wow.
This is driven in large part by their really aggressive expansion strategy. So they added a total of 110 new outlets in just those 6 months.
110 new stores.
Yeah.
Wow. And they're aiming for 3,000 by 2025, right?
That's right, yeah.
That's a pretty bold move. I mean, especially when so many retailers are struggling these days.
It certainly is, but they're not relying solely on brick and mortar.
Okay.
Their new bulk sales e-commerce platform that launched late last year, it's already contributing quite a bit to their revenue.
Okay.
They expanded that platform beyond the Klang Valley to the southern region in July.
Okay.
And then just this month, it reached the northern region.
Oh, wow. So they're really hitting it from all angles.
Yeah.
I mean, that diversification has got to be key in today's market, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. But let's dig a bit deeper into these revenue figures.
Okay.
They're seeing this increase in sale transactions like 12.9% in Q2 and 11.9% in Q3. But at the same time, their average basket size has actually dipped a little bit.
Right.
So what's the story there?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it speaks to, I think, the potential trade-offs of growing so quickly.
Right.
So they're attracting a lot more customers, but those customers might be spending a little bit less on each visit. And this could be tied to their whole like near-end save positioning, which seems to be attracting maybe some more price-conscious shoppers.
Okay, so they're prioritizing volume over individual spending, but is that sustainable in the long run as costs inevitably rise with expansion?
Yeah, that brings us to that crucial question of profit margins and cost management.
All right.
Their gross profit margin actually increased a tiny bit in the first half of the year.
Okay.
And that was thanks to some pretty smart negotiations with their suppliers.
Okay.
They secured better promotional discounts and prompt payment discounts. But in Q3, we see a dip in that margin.
Uh-oh, a dip. Is that a red flag?
Not necessarily a red flag, but definitely something to pay attention to. The dip was mainly because of inventory loss adjustments during a routine inventory count.
Okay, so these things happen.
Yeah, these things happen, especially with like a rapidly growing network of stores.
Right. So managing inventory across 3,000 locations by 2025, I mean, that sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen.
Yeah, it definitely presents some challenges, yeah.
Yeah.
But, before we jump to conclusions about how they manage their costs, there's another interesting thing in the reports.
Okay, what that?
It's the increase in other operating income.
You mean income outside of just their product sales?
Exactly.
Okay, so what's driving that then?
So that income stream includes things like product display fees and distribution center fees that they charge to their suppliers.
Right.
And we see this big jump, 23.5% in Q2 and 15.1% in Q3.
Wow, so they're really leveraging that growing scale to generate more revenue from those supplier relationships.
That's right.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, it suggests they have some bargaining power.
Yeah.
Which is really important in a competitive retail landscape like this.
Okay, so on the one hand, we've got this aggressive expansion driving that impressive revenue growth.
Yeah.
But on the other, we have those potential concerns about their profit margins and the complexities of managing this huge operation. So where does that leave us in terms of their overall financial health?
Yeah. To get a clear picture, I think we need to look beyond those top-line numbers and consider their normalized profit.
Normalized profit.
Yeah. So this metric excludes those one-off expenses that can really sometimes distort the trends.
Okay, so like what kind of one-off expenses are we talking about here?
Sure. So in Q3, they reported 23.2 million ringgit in one-off expenses, which included a special bonus for employees. And then interestingly, costs associated with their recent IPO.
Oh, right, their IPO. They just went public like a couple of months ago, didn't they?
Yeah.
So those costs would be a one-time thing,
Right.
not really part of their normal operations.
Exactly. And that's why looking at the normalized profit is really crucial here.
Oh.
It helps us see the real picture of their profitability,
Right.
excluding those kind of unique events.
Right.
And in this case, their normalized profit for Q3 actually increased by 13.2% year over year.
Oh, okay. So even with those one-off expenses, they're still showing strong profitability.
Yeah, that's right. And this leads us really nicely into the next thing we wanted to talk about, which is their forward-looking statements and what they tell us about their future plans
Perfect.
and potential risks.
Okay, let's dive into that.
So their commitment to reaching 3,000 stores by 2025,
Yeah.
really ambitious.
Yeah, it is.
And it's clear they're focusing on areas with like high potential for growth, but
Okay, but rapid growth isn't always a good thing,
yeah,
right?
right.
I mean, what are some of the risks that they've highlighted?
Yeah, so they acknowledge the challenge of keeping that consistent quality across such a big network.
Right.
You know, making sure everything runs smoothly with distribution centers and logistics and staffing. All that stuff can get really complicated.
Yeah, it's like this giant puzzle
Yeah.
with more and more pieces. And like
Yeah.
one misstep could just have these huge ripple effects.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you can't ignore those big macroeconomic factors either. So their Q3 report mentions the potential impacts from economic downturns,
Yeah.
rising inflation,
Of course.
and those changing interest rates.
Right. All those things can really affect how much people are spending.
Exactly. And that's, that's their lifeblood.
Yeah, for sure. It's like a reminder that even the best plans can get messed up by things outside of their control.
Absolutely. But, it's not all doom and gloom. They've
Yeah.
also highlighted their commitment to those ESG principles.
ESG principles.
Yeah, environmental, social, and governance.
Okay.
And that's becoming really important for investors and customers these days.
Okay. ESG. Could you break that down a little bit more for me?
Sure. So ESG basically covers a company's efforts in things like sustainability, ethical sourcing, employee well-being,
Okay.
and community engagement. So it's about running a business that's not just profitable, but also like responsible
Right.
and, aware of its impact on the world.
So it's not just about making money, but making money the right way.
Exactly. And that's a trend we're seeing across a lot of industries now.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. So 99 Speed Mart's commitment to these ESG principles.
Yeah.
That could give them an edge with investors and customers who care about that stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's go back to their e-commerce strategy for a sec.
Sure.
We talked about their bulk sales platform doing well,
Right.
but what about their overall online ambitions?
So their goal is to make that bulk sales platform available nationwide,
Okay.
everywhere that 99 Speed Mart operates.
Wow. Okay.
So this suggests they really believe in the potential of e-commerce.
It makes you wonder if they might eventually go beyond bulk sales, or
Yeah.
just normal online shopping,
Right.
maybe even delivery services.
Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
possible. I mean, they've already shown that they're willing to change and come up with new ideas with that bulk sales platform launch. So going further into e-commerce wouldn't be a surprise.
Okay, speaking of innovation, let's go back to those profit margins for a minute. We talked about that dip in Q3 because of inventory adjustments. So
Right.
what are some things they could do to improve those margins moving forward?
Well, they've already started doing things like getting better discounts from their suppliers. But there's always room for improvement. So maybe they could streamline their supply chain more, use technology to manage inventory better, and maybe even think about developing some private label
brand. What's
yeah.
that?
So that's something that other big retailers have done successfully.
Okay.
Basically, it lets them offer products at maybe lower prices
Oh.
while keeping more control over production and costs.
So they have a bunch of different options to boost their profitability.
Yeah, exactly. But it all depends on them actually doing those things effectively.
Right.
Navigating this crazy retail world means being flexible and adaptable and always paying attention to both the good stuff and the challenges.
Yeah. Okay. Now, they also mentioned that their administrative and operating costs were going up.
Right.
Is that a bad thing?
Well, it's normal for those costs to increase when you're expanding like they are.
Okay.
The important thing is to make sure those costs aren't growing too fast.
Right.
If they can keep those costs under control while still growing their revenue,
Yeah.
they'll be in good shape.
So it's all about finding that balance.
Exactly. It's a tricky situation with lots of moving parts.
Yeah.
And 99 Speed Mart's success is going to depend on them figuring it all out.
Okay. Well, they've given us a lot to think about today, that's for sure.
Yeah.
From that impressive growth to the risks and opportunities.
For sure.
And speaking of nuances, there's one more thing we haven't really talked about yet.
Yeah.
You mentioned their IPO earlier.
Yeah.
They just went public, what, like a couple months ago?
That's right. Yeah. They listed on the main market of Bursa Malaysia back on September 9th.
Okay.
It was a pretty big deal. Lots of people were excited about
Yeah.
it. And the stock's actually done pretty well since then.
I bet. Yeah, I mean, their financials definitely make it seem like they're a company on the rise.
Yeah.
But let's go back to their expansion plans for a sec.
Okay.
I mean, they're clearly trying to be a big player in the game.
Yeah.
But what are their goals besides just adding more stores?
Well, they've talked about wanting to improve their efficiency.
Okay.
And make the most of their different revenue streams.
Right.
So it seems like they're not just focused on growing for the sake of growing.
Right.
They're also thinking about how to make their operations more profitable.
Okay. That's a good sign. Shows they're being smart about it.
Yeah.
What about their e-commerce platform?
Yeah.
Any specific targets there?
They haven't announced any specific numbers,
Okay.
but they have said they want to make that bulk sales platform available across the whole country to all the regions where 99 Speed Mart operates.
Wow.
So it seems like they see e-commerce as a really important part of their growth going forward.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they'll eventually go beyond just bulk sales and offer more like a traditional online shopping experience.
Right.
Maybe even delivery services.
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already shown they're not afraid to adapt and try new things.
Right?
So I wouldn't be surprised to see them do more with e-commerce.
Okay, well, I think we've covered a lot today.
Yeah, we have.
From their impressive revenue growth to their ambitious plans, their cost management strategies, and all those forward-looking statements.
Yeah, for sure.
What are your final thoughts on 99 Speed Mart's chances?
I think they're definitely a company to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
They've got a strong track record of growth, and they're making money. And they seem to have a clear vision for what they want to do in the future.
But there are always risks, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Especially in such a competitive field like retail.
Right. You never know what's going to happen next in retail.
Yeah, for sure.
So they'll have to keep doing what they're doing well and adapt to changes in the market. But yes, based on what we've seen so far, I think they've got a good shot at success.
Well said. And for our listener out there, I think this deep dive has given you some really good insights into 99 Speed Mart.
Hopefully.
It's clear that they're not afraid to set big goals and go for it.
Yeah, they're ambitious.
But like with any investment, you got to do your own research.
Right.
And think about all the factors before making any decisions.
Absolutely.
So keep learning, keep exploring,
Yeah.
and we'll see you on our next deep dive.
Sounds good.